Hey guys, it's Carl Brown here with my brother Ted, and we are here for a fun one. We're going to talk about our favorite 90s era albums. So let me tell you how this started. Started as a top 10 list about actually a different subject.
Yeah. Then we were like,
and then yeah, that's not an interesting topic. So we started doing our top 10 albums list, and then it became a top 15, then it became top 20, top 25, we went top 30, then we started going, okay, but top 35 with some honorable mentions, and then we were like, all right, let's take this list, because we just kept going, we had to put these on there, and we're like, let's make a top 10 list out of these picks.
Yeah. So these are going to be across the, really across the board, and I found as we got further, and as we started eliminating, God, I hate to say eliminating some of these records. Like I said, it kept growing and growing.
We're going to have a big honorable mention list.
Yeah, it's 4 times longer than the 10 list.
Yeah.
And we had some that, of course, we didn't really agree on would be in this, level for each, but most of ours are going to be around the same. So we decided we could kind of take everything that we each like, and we're going to have a top 10 list here. So it's going to be across the board. It's going to not, but I found as we got more pared down back to only 10, it got lighter.
But it also got very similar.
Yeah,
it got exactly what we
got
both
similar.
picked.
It wasn't very hard to agree on the top 10 albums.
Yeah,
so I was like, that's what we should do. But we also saw that the music started not being as heavy when you pare it down.
Yeah, well, you'll notice that it's music that really heavily affected us when it came out, and then that we still listen to today. Because some of these albums, they really affect us when it came down. We might not listen to them as much today. Sometimes we listen to them more today than we did.
Like a lot of our honorable mention lists might have been our favorite records in our lives at one point, but we don't listen to them so much today. This had to be the combination of affecting you as like a musician.
Yeah.
You listened to it a ton back in the day, and you still listen to it.
And this is our list, not your list, so don't worry about it. You can have your own.
It's got
have your
completely
own
right.
top 10 list. It's not going to match ours.
Yeah.
This is just what.
So this is completely accurate because it's our list. It's not your list.
Yes.
All right, and these are also not ranked.
They're not ranked. We're doing it number 1 through 10, so we don't get lost.
Yeah.
But the numbering is just there for organizational sake. Yeah. They're all number 1 to us. All right, here we go.
All right, number
First
1.
album, Passion and Warfare. Not a huge Steve Vai's Passion and Warfare. Not a huge surprise to anybody that follows my channel. Passion and Warfare is the sole reason that I am a professional guitar player, that this YouTube channel even exists, that anybody who's ever watched one of these videos, which is going on like 500 million views we're approaching, is because of Steve Vai's Passion and Warfare album.
And even as a drummer, that album has so much magic and creativity to it, and is so melodic, and it rocks, and there's just so much about it. And quick fact, of the 14 tracks on Passion and Warfare, Carl and I own 8 of the track sheets from those sessions. The original track sheets. Carl and I own them in all the notes.
I own Steve's personalized notes that he did while he was recording For the Love of God.
I have ones for Liberty.
Notes, and they are framed, and I sleep 3 feet from them every single night. Yeah. So huge impact on me. Very sentimental. That's going to be, it's the most pivotal album of my entire life.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to jump at these pretty quick. We're going to make this a faster podcast.
Some of these are going to be kind of surprising to you.
Because the honorable mention is going to take about 30 minutes to get through the honorable mentions. Okay, number 2, October Rust, Typo Negative.
By Typo Negative.
So, in the 90s, now I really got into Typo Negative during the Bloody Kisses record. Typo Negative is not anything that I think in those days. Now this was back in the day when we had black hair to our ass. Yeah. So we were the Typo crowd like you wouldn't believe. But musically, as far as the music we played, it wasn't anything that was really inspired us. It was just music that we absolutely loved. They're such a unique band. And they go into the October Rust. It's so melodic. If you guys haven't heard of Typo Negative, they're a great band. It's like Black Sabbath and the Beatles together. It's a very weird combo. One of the most unique bands. They basically are a huge the Godfathers of goth, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, the October Rust is just so melodic, so perfect, such an incredible album. So if you want to sit back and chill, listen to that.
All right, number 3. Well, that's not number 3. It's number 3 on the list. It is not ranked.
And it is not chill.
Yeah, it is anything but chill. And the first time I ever heard this record, first of all, the first time I ever heard the very first track, well, not the first track, it starts with that Velvet Kevorkian, but the second track is the greatest metal song in my opinion, to this day, that's ever been written. The album is
Strappy Young Lads, City.
So
the great Devin Townsend.
We told did we tell that story? I don't know if you've told another podcast about like when we first discovered Devin Townsend through Steve Vai's Sex and Religion album. Started doing a little research on his other stuff, and this was like the day. I'm like, no one. Every time we got somebody into Strapping a Lad, it was no one had heard of him. We were the first people to kind of drop this album on so many people. And the first time you listen to it, it sounds like just a bunch of noise, like industrial noise. It does the first time you listen to it. But you start listening to that album over and over again, and it is so killer.
It is the most visceral, just like passionate.
There's so much reality into what Devin Townsend does that there is just no bullshit. He shows you exactly who he is on everything he's doing. He's got all these segments of his personality, so that's why he's got so many projects that are so different.
By the way, he's got a new ambient project that just came out today. I got it bookmarked.
So City was like his like alter ego. I think this album almost like drove him crazy or something, like making this album. But it is just
it's brilliant.
It is just a fantastic album that, you know, and All Hail the New Flesh is the greatest metal song ever.
All right, so number 4 is, for a guitar player, is probably not what you would think that I would say would be in my top 10, because the same guitar player in the same band has a far more popular album that contains an unbelievable amount of killer guitar stuff. But Extreme's 3 Sides to Every Story is one of the most brilliant rock albums ever created. It's got the side 1 is pretty much the rock oriented, just brilliant guitar playing, riffs, solos, all stuff. The stuff more similar to Pornography. And then, man, they take it into a whole nother world, and they do such a good job of it. And it's just a magical album.
It's absolutely, I know, and I've said this before. Like I
love Pornography to death, but
I love Pornography. I love Nuna Bittencourt.
If I was gonna play to one of their albums, I'd play it to Pornography. I would like.
And as a guitar player, I can completely see that. But you know, we both love Nuno so much. We named our Greyhound Nuno. But that album, it's just one of those albums that, again, if you are a music fan and you really listen to it, and this album, like I can remember, like somebody, I could read an article of Nuno reading a review of this album, and they're like, oh, he's trying to go out like Queen and stuff, and it's kind of pompous, and that he just like threw the magazine across the room or something, and he didn't get it, and like literally no one talks about this album that I see in circles, like all this new Extreme Rise thing. Like I'm watching that whole the Beato interview, and there's like, you guys gonna bring up anything about 3 Sides of Every Story? Like no one talks about it in the comment fields. I'm like, this album, like the ending, and I think Nuno
actually Rick did mention about like the Peacemaker Die solo and stuff, so he knows it.
But that when you hit like Stop the World and all the way through the end of that record, there's not like a more like perfect piece of like musical journey and way they bring it all back down. And I've let you know this, that I'm an Extreme fan, but I've never really been into their lyrics. I don't like the lyrics on Pornography. I'm not crazy about it. It's not my style of music that I like. I love the guitar work. I love Nuno's really unique like funk rock guitar. I mean, he's so good. It's really infectious, but it was absolutely, lyrically, everything is perfect on 3 Sides of Every Story. It is a fantastic album, and it's probably, you could say, is one of the most underrated albums ever because of how good it is, and it's coming off the album that had more than words on it, and you know, it's just not talked about as much.
All right, so number 5.
And I'm sure you guys were at least expecting one of their albums on us. Now, this was their first album when they originally found their sound, and it came out in 1999, so it could make this list. but it is Agitus version by Sigur Rós.
Now, here's the funny thing. We didn't listen to them this year. We didn't really get into them to like 2000, 2001.
2001, 2. It was right after Brackets came out when we started listening.
Yeah, so even though since the album came out, now I've listened to the album a million times since then. And as it goes, it's probably one of the least amount of albums of Sigur Rós albums that I listen to. It's probably, since it's early, it's got some amazing stuff on it, but I probably listen to the albums Brackets and On probably more, but I still love this album. We even named our little
softball
team after it.
Yeah, these guys on our team that were like felons, and they're wearing.
They had no idea what it meant.
They had no idea what it meant. They're just like,
and that's
what
the great
this
thing
band
about
was.
Sigur Rós is I don't know what half the albums songs, the song titles are, or more than
what
that.
they mean. You know,
I don't know what they mean. I don't even know what they are. I know the music by heart.
I think it kind of backs it up. I've never been a huge word person, so I'm just like a melody. Give me the melody, and they were just like perfect band that the words never got in the way, and everything else just comes in, and it had such a unique sound, which is so.
So we didn't listen to the 90s, but solely made the list because it's our favorite band of all time. Both of our favorite band now for over 20 years, and it's their first album where they actually have found their own unique sound.
Yeah.
And since then, they've been the most brilliant musical outfit in human history, I believe. But, oh well.
Okay, and now number 6. So this is going to be our first where the same artist.
Somebody's making the list twice.
The same artist has charted on our list twice. Number 6 is
Ocean Machine by Devin Townsend. So this is another project, and it was something we actually looked forward to because we were such a huge City fans in all the little underground music magazines. And we actually mentioned in a video, we actually were talking to Devin one time before it came out, and we asked him about it, and he just lit up like he couldn't believe that somebody
actually subscribed to his newsletter.
Well, actually knew that this thing existed. That this album even existed. But we had not heard it yet.
Yeah.
And it's one of those albums that I was like anticipating. He was warning us. He's like, it's literally the yin to the yang of the city, and it's the complete different side of the coin. And so we got excited about it. He's like, it's more melodic, more this and this, and it was just absolutely brilliant. When we first heard it, I mean, it took over city for us. Like we went and we listened to Ocean Machine, I think, every day for a year, you know?
Yeah.
And we barely listened to City.
Again, it's got all the elements. It's got parts that rock. It's got parts that are just really melodic. And then at the very end, like these songs are like 10 minutes long, and they're like Journey, like you know, it's just an amazing, just a fantastic record.
Yeah. So, and number seven,
which I think, well, you know, in if you ask the average music fan, or not average, you know, that's people that enjoy good music, and you're talking about pick of the 90s, this would probably go down as probably the most picked one, and it's OK Computer by Radiohead.
Absolutely. If you had to tell me it has to be popular music, like a popular band, I cannot think of a more brilliant album that has been released since Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
It is just everything about it so unique. So every single song sounds unique. Artistically, just every single intro, every single verse, every single chorus is like an artistic triumph. You can't even describe what this album is like. It's such a magical album, and that for me, if we're talking about, because that's a popular album too, it's a well-known album.
I mean, you're coming off an artist
songs on it.
Yeah.
None of our, let's see, is there anything on this list that had a hit song on it? I think this is the only album that there's the next one maybe had one little minor hit, but OK Computer's a massive hit in popular culture.
And you got to think like where they came off. Of course,
and it's the only album we have that's a massive hit in pop culture.
You know, of course, the Bins is on our honorable mention list.
Yeah.
But where they came off the Bins and when they got, and it's just like, man, thank God for Radiohead, you know, to be a popular band and bring intelligent music that is so
high
different.
Art, just
and
high art.
Take the risk. Do something. I mean, they were duly rewarded. I mean, people just go down like that is Dark Side. That is a Sgt. Pepper.
Like I said, we always talked about. They almost came like that Pablo Honey. Pablo Honey is almost like a byproduct of the grunge era, But then they just became one of the most sophisticated bands in music history. I mean, very sophisticated sounds. Music is high art. And
well, they started with the bins, which they basically are like, all right, here comes an album which has traditional elements to it. It's basically a lot of acoustic and stuff, but here we can write an album where there's not one bad track on it. This is the bins. And so they proved that. And then they just decided to just flick a switch, which no one saw coming. Where did they get this idea from? And they put out this album that, like I said, just thank God that it brought, it's like enlightened. Like you can't say, okay, all popular music is trash, because they were just, they put out this absolute masterpiece that was very, very popular.
Yeah. All right. So number 8 is something that had a huge impact on me and Ted. And it was a minor hit on MTV.
I think for musicians, it was a pretty big hit. But
it's a pretty big deal for a band of their type of a band. But at the same time, in the world of like popular success, But it was a huge impact on us, and it is Dream Theater's
Images and Words.
So, massive album. Just once of all, wall to wall, not a bad song on it.
This was an album that really kind of started kicking us over into being more progressive and musicians. Like it was like heavy. We were coming.
And I like the shred stuff. I was a massive Steve Vai fan. I listened to the Shredders, but a lot of the Shredders music, like you listen to Yngwie and stuff like that. It's like not the songs aren't the most progressive in the world. It's just like kind of like they're just vehicles for his guitar playing.
But I think you could kind of look like when we had bands in the later 90s, which were like industrial metal bands. How long did it take us before we stopped saying, okay, and this is the part where the technical section will go.
Yeah.
The instrumental technical section will go right here, where we had like so much Dream Theater influence where we just, it was like the hardest to kind of like, all right, you don't have to do this in every track, man. You don't have to do this. But Images and Words.
This is a 4-minute long pop song. We don't need a 2.5 minute long instrumental technical section in the middle of it.
It's just really difficult to be so musical and like so progressive, and these songs are so long and developed, and that's so hard to do.
I know, it's one of those bands, like it's such a progressive album. Like I said, you say it's musical. Like our girlfriends liked it.
Yeah.
They can sit there and listen to it, and they like the music. But yet,
you can go up there and say, okay, we're going to play in this time.
Musicians loved it.
We're going to play in this time signature here, and then we're going to segue to this time signature here, and you just come up with a riff in that, and we'll do this. And you can make a crazy sounding song.
Yeah.
But to be as musical as they were.
Yeah. Like I said, I always said that. It's not hard to be unique in music. Yeah. It's really hard to be unique and musical.
Yeah.
And let somebody hear something that's new and fresh that they've never heard before, but they actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's hard to do. And they did it for a full album, and it was just a word.
Fantastic record. Okay, so number 9. This one's pretty unique. A lot of you guys probably
have not heard this.
But
it was all the rage for a little bit on like the...
I remember accidentally finding it.
What is it? Where did this album start? We start hearing this album. They used to have this old TV station that was like an MTV ripoff from Canada or something like that, and they would play little pieces of it, and they would do like infomercials, and you can like get this album. Anyway, this album took off for like 1 year. It was like great for people at dinner parties, and they'd have this on in the background.
But I don't know why it would be, because it is so sad.
It is the darkest piece of music.
It is so dark. It is so dark. So what this piece of music is Goreskis Symphony No. 3, a symphony of sorrowful songs. And also on this album, it has 3 olden style pieces.
For classical, it's a classical piece. It's most classical albums, there's lots of different recordings of this symphony. Yeah. The one that really was very popular was there's the symphony, but it also comes with this 3 other pieces on there. It was called 3 olden style pieces. I think it's called.
The one that the album cover is like the screen
painting or whatever, and that's the one. And
this piece of music was written in the late 70s, but it didn't become popular to this release of this recording. And it is some you probably may have heard, like if you watch
it's used in movies a lot.
It's been like here and there, and I can't really think of the ones that it's been in. But it is a journey. Like I've literally never sat down and said, okay, someone who likes music, or listen to this piece of music. And it's long. I mean, it's a symphony, and every single every single part is lento. So it is
Every movement.
There's no like little,
and it builds in slowly. It starts off, and you're like, is it going? Is it playing? Is it playing? And it does a very soft, and builds up one section of the orchestra, and then another one adds.
It adds like
one
instrument.
And they add dynamics as they go,
Yeah.
and then it swallows it. You're eventually at this massive orchestral sound.
And they're all playing the same melody, but they start at different parts.
Well, and it's just as mournful as you can get, this sound they created. And then it comes down, and then this woman's voice comes out, and this opera, and it's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it is incredible. So it's like all these, it's an amazing symphony of both orchestra and soloist.
If you like, I mean, I don't care if you what your feelings are on classical music or really involved music that's, you know, much longer form. If you are like, if you like dark music, if you like sad, emotional music.
This is
you can't miss this track. You got to check this out.
And then the 3 olden style pieces are really nice too.
Yeah.
One of them is a bit quicker, but there's 2 of the pieces that are really nice. Anyway, and number 10.
So number 10 is probably
this is blasphemy. This number.
Well,
10.
yeah, number 10 is going to be because a lot of people don't even consider this to be an album by the band that made it. So number 10 is The Division Bell by Pink Floyd. Now we realized that. And I would probably agree that this is more of a David Gilmour solo record than it is a Pink Floyd. It doesn't sound like Pink Floyd, you know. Obviously, you know, if Roger Waters isn't participating in the process, it's not really a Pink Floyd record. But this is one of the greatest albums, one of the best albums.
I don't care what you call it. The music on this album is actually, I was a musician for quite a while. Into the mid 90s, I never listened to Pink Floyd. I was not a band. I was like, oh, it's just like music for druggies and stuff. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was this album where I first started listening to Pink Floyd. And musically, the guitar work is so beautiful. The solos on this album are just, and I know people just scoff at it. It's not real Pink Floyd. You cannot tell me this is not some of David Gilmour's greatest guitar work. Trust me, I've transcribed all of his music. It's all on YouTube. I've listened to this all. I can't find better work.
Best vocal work too. His vocals.
It's just unreal what he did on this album. And then I went back out of it and listened to all the older Pink Floyd. And then the reason I like all the older Pink Floyd is because Division Bell was my gateway drug into it.
Yeah, it's so weird that way that I couldn't we remember I was listening to Pink Floyd the other day. I was trying to play some for my wife, and she's like, "So when did you start liking this?" And I'm like, actually, I didn't. When we were until we were in our upper teens, we were not. I always had this thing. We were kind of like, it's just like more of like a druggy band. We were like into really heavy music, and it was kind of weird that we didn't get into Pink Floyd till later on. But yeah, it was like our gateway album to Pink Floyd.
That I super got into all their stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love all.
I love all the Pink Floyd, but Division Bell for me, and if I'm going to do one of my top albums of the 90s, that had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
And just his, I'm a guitar player, and I'm just listening to his guitar playing. It's just absolutely amazing.
All right, so
honorable mentions. Let's get through these. There's a lot of honorable mentions.
Let's slam on the. All right, so we'll take turns. We'll jump through our honorable mention list. There won't be much talking about them, but you'll kind of see why.
Yeah. So this is all. These are albums that we probably listen to almost just as much.
Yeah.
But
and there are a few that like literally missed the cut, like they were released in 2000.
Yeah.
Like 16 Men of Tane would have been in this list
like
if it
Alan
was released
Holdsworth.
a few months earlier.
Yeah. There's Alan Holdsworth. The only reason why an Alan Holdsworth album didn't make it in, because a couple of his 90s albums, which were Hard Hat Area and Wardenclyffe Tower, are some of my favorite Alan Holdsworth. But they, I didn't listen to them in the 90s at all. I didn't listen to them until like a little over like a year and a half ago.
So we had to consider, we had to work
the impact
those
back in the day.
We had to work those in like
now I listen to them much more than a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So okay, so obviously Nevermind is going to be on there. Nirvana. Nirvana was a huge cultural shift.
And it affected us too. We loved
us and everything. And I mean, there's not a bad song on Nevermind. Nope. I love Nevermind. Being a progressive musician, it's not like I can't stand grunge music or whatever like that. Nevermind, incredible album.
Yeah. Vulgar Display of Power.
Unbelievable. Probably one of the most riff-tastic albums.
Yep.
Incredible production. They were they were just hitting on all cylinders on that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Far Beyond Driven too. It's like there's just some great stuff.
All right, Songs of Faith and Devotion, Depeche Mode. Now we both are huge Depeche Mode fans. I don't know if we talk about that much on the channel. Like we absolutely love Depeche Mode, all of their records. We've seen them live. We are just huge Depeche Mode fans. This album, if you had to, we had like Violator was in the 90s. You had Ultra, which is in the 90s. And they literally we're not going to have a Depeche Mode record on, it's like our all time, like it's like a top 5 favorite band. But we just had, because we had to like put it, okay, so it's our favorite music, but we're also musicians. Is this something that inspired you as a musician
musically?
Yeah, it was one of those things.
Those
like
other band albums affected us musically.
Yeah, it was like a typo negative thing where it didn't really affect like what we do musically, but we just loved the band.
Yeah. Queensryche's Empire,
fantastic record.
Not a weak song on it.
No.
The production is amazing.
Yep.
Probably the greatest snare drum sound in the history of music, for me at least. And Chris DeGarmo, man,
yeah, he could do
the
it
man
all,
could write some songs.
Great.
And if we ever did a thing, by the way, if we ever did a thing of most underrated albums of the 90s, it would be Queensryche's Promised Land. So the one that they kind of backed this up with, nobody talks about, but is an absolutely brilliant album. It's different, but very, 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 very unique album. So
yeah, it's like they took a lot of
chances
with that one. Now this next one's a little different. Probably takes some people off guard, but I just absolutely love this record, and it is Cross of Changes by Enigma.
Enigma's had a lot of great albums.
Yeah,
that guy,
absolutely.
what's the guy's name again?
Micro Couture.
Yeah, and
so yeah, just an absolutely brilliant, like wall to wall. I know
they had like 3 albums in a row. They're really good.
I remember for the Sadness song that came out in like 90 or 91. Yeah, it's great. But these albums are just like they're
Return
like
to Innocence
trippy.
and all
They're
stuff.
like they're just beautifully done. They're very well made. And I guess it has a lot to do with like the time of the life when I got into that record and listening to it. And there's some beautiful pieces on there that really just echo with me today. So it was obviously on there. Next one we're going to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Would it be Pig Walk by Stuck Mojo?
Stuck Mojo is a band from Atlanta, and the guitar player was Rich Ward. Now this album, the vocal stylings of the album, it's usually you would say is not my cup of tea. It's not. It's not generally. It is way overshadowed by the immense amount of absolutely killer guitar riffs on this album. And it sounds killer. It was produced by Devin Townsend.
Actually, we discovered it because of Devin Townsend, figuring out that we were in by
and they also toured up in the southeast a lot.
Yeah.
And they came into our area quite a bit. And I cannot, for hard rock music.
Another band that we follow. We would follow them city to city.
I cannot think of a better live hard rock band I've ever
Stuck
seen.
Mojo. Yeah.
Sounded absolutely massive. I've told Rich this because and I've my ultimate like hard rock tone is Stuck Mojo at Ziggy's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
But so I'm sure a lot of people have
in
not
1996, so I don't know whatever it is.
Stuck
just
Mojo.
Killer.
Stuck Mojo. So anyway, so you guys check out
Pig
this
Walk
record.
album.
Yeah, Pig Walk album. So that would have come out in like 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah, mid-90s.
But fantastic. It is an absolute riff fest. Like the vocals it's like sort of rap rock. It has like rapped vocals, and then it goes well with what they're doing.
Not all of them.
I always liked
some
it.
of his songs.
Yeah, but yeah, the riffs are just like
a lot
boom,
of
boom, boom.
The songs are such fun.
It's just amazing. So Rich is just unbelievable.
All right, now the next one is going to be Warden Cliff Tower by Alan Holdsworth. Now, this is the first Alan Holdsworth album that I got into that I would listen to from beginning to end. Because Alan Holdsworth is one of those things where I never listened to him much. He is an acquired taste. Once you get his music once you get his music under your skin, you are done.
Yeah, you are done.
It's hard
as a musician, somebody also that
I mean, you can't find more inspired. I mean, it's just like I can't compare him to anything.
I would say like back in the day,
like 2 years ago, if you're like, hey man, jazz fusion, I'd be like,
yeah,
oh my
but
God,
it's like
dude,
once
no
you
way.
start getting and that's where like calling like the evolution of like the evolution of your own playing will always change. If you want to grow as a musician, you need to evolve, or at least let yourself evolve, and don't. But I remember we would play shows in Vegas, and I remember stepping off the stage the last time we were playing like 700 hours a year, and I remember saying I was like, I am done going on stage every time and knowing exactly every note that I'm going to play. And i.e. I want to be in an improvised situation that has a lot of improvisation. Yeah. And so this is what his music offers. And you can go down the rabbit hole and go on YouTube and watch performances from the early 80s all the way into just 70s. Before he passed away in 2017. You got, it's just unbelievable. Everything's different.
So the only reason it's an honorable mention is because we did not listen to it back in the 90s.
And that's one of the things. Yeah.
Now it's huge. To be the hard hat area is also, it's got my favorite Alan Holdsworth track, which is low levels, high stakes. Yeah. But it's just absolutely brilliant. And then we would have put 16 Minute Tain on there, even though we that came out in 2000.
Yeah. All right, so we can jump these a little bit faster. Next one, 10, Pearl Jam. I don't think anyone would say that is an absolutely
Pearl Jam. That whole era, like I said, the whole thing when all that scene started hitting, there were so many great albums that were solid all the way through. Pearl Jam for me, I love 10. I don't really like anything. I like select songs since then, but I don't really feel like they put out like an album that's like completely solid all the way
And I would say like
which most bands don't. But 10 was brilliant.
In that time of the grunge bands, that was my favorite album in the grunge times. Like their MTV Unplugged was just unbelievable. Yeah. And this album, it's got, I love that record a lot. But yeah, I mean, it comes like how much it affects you as a musician and all that kind of stuff. And we only had 10, so we had to pick 10. All right.
We have 50 honorable mentions.
The next one is Anima by Tool. Yeah, so Anima, Tool is such an amazingly creative band, still big today, still doing like the same thing. We saw them multiple times.
Making some really good wine too.
Yeah, incredible shows. We would see them back in the day, and this was like the first record I had, Undertow before, and I liked it. But this album was just, I love, how broad, and they were basically like a Led Zeppelin of metal, and they were just a Pink Floyd of metal or whatever, and they would just like take you on these journeys, and they were so unique, and there was nothing like them in the music industry. Still isn't really. And and Dana Carey is a very nice guy.
Yeah, you met him at the Big Potato.
Yeah, Dana Carey, super nice guy.
All right, the next one, another one, big shift here from what people probably think on the channel. REM's Automatic for the People.
Yeah, this is another one where every song is so good. And I mean, I like some other REM stuff, but not a complete, not so much. It's just not my type of music. But this album has this sort of vibe. And chill thing to it, and I guess it's how they automatic. They just they were inspired to make it, and they did it relatively quickly. I don't know. I think it was actually named after a restaurant or something, but but just a fantastic album.
It's just so great. All right, now the next one is was actually in our original top 10 list, and then we got out and we put it back in. Anyway,
but this one is obviously. If we had to do a grunge era list,
it'd be number one.
This is numero uno, and it is Dirt by Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
So this album, if anyone listens to this is
even though I don't think Alice in Chains is a grunge band.
Yeah, they're not a grunge. How can you say they're
a hard, like a melodic hard rock band?
Yeah, exactly. Another one, wall to wall. Pick a bad song on it. It does not exist. It is every track on this thing is brilliant. Jerry Cantrell is one of the best songwriters of his entire generation. It's just there's no real debate on that. He's got a great voice too.
He's one of the greatest singers.
Yeah, such a unique voice. It was Lane Staley.
And honorable mention number 2, Facelift.
Yeah,
so that's like we can't. It's kind of hard to do one without the other. So
yeah.
If you asked me my favorite band from the era. He's saying grunge,
Seattle,
just that whole Seattle scene, even whatever.
The Seattle grunge, yeah.
Alice in Chains, number one.
Yeah,
by far. I love Alice in Chains. They just kind of had it all. They had they had the same melody and stuff and power that Nirvana had and stuff like that. but they also had a unique singer. Obviously, so did Soundgarden, an amazing singer. But they had these
Also not a
incredible-
grunge band. Like I don't
yeah,
think
and they had these
Soundgarden's grunge.
amazing vocal harmonies, and they just had a lot of songs that sounded completely different than they're
Yeah.
very unique. They're it's like I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. All right. We said we're gonna go fast, and then we talk about one for 2 minutes. Next one, Bloody Kisses by Type of Negative. Type of Negative's October Rust was on our original
Top
list.
10?
Is on the top 10. Bloody Kisses is what got me into Type of Negative. It is another unbelievable album, wall to wall. It's like right here with October Rust with me. But Bloody Kisses, brilliant album. Type of Negative, check it out. Next one's going to be a little different, another change. Everyone's like, "What'd you guys
You
just
actually
say?"
listen to this?
You know? Yes. The next one would be Little Earthquakes by Tori Amos. Now, Tori Amos, if you guys, I'm sure a lot of people these days, I don't hear like Tori Amos talked about a lot on Spectrum, but even back in North Carolina, I remember a lot of our metal musician friends, they listen to Tori Amos because she's just the most brilliant songwriter. And she has this way of writing her music that she basically, like her lyrics have, I don't know what the actual...
Kind of double meaning.
They have like a double meaning to them. So she's basically talking about something and like, I'm talking about winter and I'm also talking about the relationship with my father at the same time. And it's very brilliant. She's very melodic and really unique musician for her time. And she's very prolific as well. She's got a ton of stuff.
It's amazing.
Still touring these days. So
This next one is Ted's pick.
yeah, so
I'll
this
let
is
you say.
one that would have been very, very high up on me because I love this record. It's Moon Safari.
We each got one of these. So
Yeah.
this is Ted's.
Yeah, this is mine. This is Moon Safari by Air. They're a French
By Air, he
Yeah,
said.
electronic-
Moon Safari by Air.
electronic duo from France. This album came out in 1980 and basically invented the chill genre. And it's just great. It's like jazzy, it's chill, it's airy, and it just vibes like crazy. I just love that record.
The next one is I've never done a song of theirs because it's kind of doesn't really work for most people don't own 7-string guitars. Korn's debut album. Now, what got me into this was who was a guitar student of mine who eventually became my best friend, still is, and he lives out here. I was wearing his Plague Rock Public still in one of our previous videos, and he's like, "Hey man." He was a student of mine, and he's like, he was taking private lessons. He goes, "You gotta go see this band, Korn. Would you like to go?" And he had just moved to town, so he didn't have any friends to go with. I was like, "I'll go with you." So we go to this, and Korn is playing in an abandoned post office. And there was so he brings me. I had never heard a note of their music. I was like, I'll go. Haven't been to a show in a while. And then I don't know who it was that it was.
We were like in our monk phase this time. Where
Yeah,
we were like
we were-
practicing
I was
10
just
hours a day. We
practicing-
weren't even going out
going
checking
out.
out music.
And some hip hop, I don't know, I forget who it was. Some hip hop group opened the show, and
what'd you pick me up?
I'm like, why the fuck did you bring me to this? Why do you think I would want to see this shit? You know, I was pissed. I did not want to be there. You want to make my own personal hell? That I was in it in this thing. And then he was like, just give it a chance. I hate it too, but wait till Korn comes out. And then Korn comes out, and then everybody's like into it. And he's like, you hear that da 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 da, and I'm like, okay, da da da, and he's like, you might want to hold on to something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'll see you at the end of the
What's going
show.
to happen? What are they going to do? And he's like, oh,
You're on the floor.
I have never seen a place just absolutely come apart. The whole building was just like, it was unreal. So I was very
Then we saw Korn. So we saw Korn have like
Many
a
times.
riot. We were at
we were in the
show
middle of a
they-
riot with Korn.
It made NTV News whenever
Yeah.
that was a thing. Is it
Not
still
that
a
same
thing?
show when they were much bigger, but yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Anyway.
So the next one is one of Carl's.
This is my pick that Ted doesn't know anything about. This album has special significance to me because it's the time it came out and certain events that happened in my life at the time and were really kind of like kind of traumatic, I guess, and we won't go into all that. But this album helped me get through it, and it's Al Di Meola's World Sinfonia, Heart of the Immigrants. There's a lot of some Piazzolla stuff on there, which I love, but a lot of really emotional, like acoustic, just a little bit of vocals in here, a few parts that are just stab you in the chest. It's like, it's a very deep album, and I love Al DeMille's playing. He's a great virtuoso, whatever. This album just hit home to me, and I would listen to it every night, and it was a very emotional album to me. So that and I told Ted, that's what Al DeMille's World's So Money. He's like, what the fuck is that? But anyway, huge album in my world back then.
All right, so the next one, very, very huge album, Octung Baby by U2. We're both huge U2 fans. We used to teach I used to teach the kids of their producers back in the day. But we're actually going to see, they're going to play this whole entire album, I guess, in sequence at the Sphere in Las Vegas, which we're going to go to in October. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a really cool show. And so Octung Baby. Next one.
Another choice that most people would like, especially what we're going to be backing it up with.
Yeah. So
should I say this one? Because we're going to get grilled.
No, Shepherd Moons by India.
Who doesn't love him some India?
I mean, in the 90s, she was everywhere. Like, you couldn't go
I
anywhere.
loved it, man. I listened to that music. Her Watermark album, and then which is an 80s, but she released, and then Shepherd's Moon. I was in love with that woman for like a full,
you could like on first dates in the 90s, you could just bring them an India CD and you're like in. Like nothing.
But we truly did dig the music.
It was so good.
It was so peaceful and so majestic and stuff.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, and to back that up, nice abrupt change here. Roots by Sepultura. Now, this album was, this came off of, they had the Chaos AD, which they had changed their style, I guess, after touring with Korn, But this album just absolutely rocks to the core.
Soulfly album was really great, too.
And it was kind of weird because we kind of were always into metal bands that had a little bit more of a process sound. Like, we really liked Fear Factory. And eventually, when we were in our metal bands, were more an industrial, using a lot of triggers, stuff like that. And Sepultura, does not have that sound, but it was just absolutely great album. Roots by Sepultura.
We're going to finish this by not the greatest music, but the best album cover of the night. No, amazing album musically, Around the Fur by the Deftones.
Yeah. So we saw Deftones live this time. They were such a great live act, and this is another one where every track is like really killer. It's not even my favorite Deftones record. My favorite is Diamond Eyes. I love that record, but that came out in like 2007 or something like that. But this album was kind of like how I really got into Deftones, who are still going strong these days. But great album. And that is it.
That is it. So our original top 10, and then our 55 honorable mentions.
I think all of these were in our top 10, and then they were shifted out. And then
it's been a whole afternoon here trying to get this all worked out for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we would like to see what your top 10 albums of the 90s. It has to be
like, God, those are your top 10 albums. I can't wait to see these comments.
I know,
great.
This is God. Do you know Iron Maiden released 6 albums? I know, we're going to get some of this.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, though, guys. We'll see you again with another one soon.